That's pretty cool. What? How did you get here? Did you cycle here?
I cycled here, yeah. So I got into the... so Google Maps told me it was going to be, a 25-minute cycle for where I'm living in Rathmines. And I was like, great, I'll leave at 1:30 and give myself loads of time. And then it didn't tell me there would be a hill and motorway. So I was... God sends us challenges sometimes. But
Google Maps, I mean, in Ireland it's not too bad, but when we were in Lisbon, it would just be like, here, go in that direction somewhere, and then you'll find where you're meant to be.
I was in Bosnia over the summer, and it was even worse because like it would just send you on roads that didn't exist. Like it would tell you, take this road as the quickest way from Mostar to Sarajevo, and basically it would not only send you roads that didn't exist, but you have to be careful there because some, thank God, very few, but some are still mined. So it would send us down these very track roads, and we're like, we don't even know if this is safe. This is odd. So Google Maps is a very useful tool, but imperfect. Definitely.
Imperfect, yeah. If you know how to use it, it's good. If you're in certain countries, it's not great. But anyways, welcome on, Ciaran. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Dion.
If you could maybe start off by telling us who you are and sort of where you come from.
Okay, so my name's Ciaran Heelan. I'm 24 years old, and I'm currently living in a group called the Faber Community out in Rathmines. That is a youth ministry run by the Jesuits, and basically what that is that it's 8 young men living together in a house, and then there are other women who are part of the ministry but non-resident. And yeah, so the 8 of us live together in the house, and basically the point is to have 3 functions. First of all, it's a beautiful old Victorian house that's quite large, so the idea is we need to look after it. Then the second is to learn about Ignatian spirituality. So we're all at a stage of our lives where we're all discerning our future life paths. Many of the guys have girlfriends and are discerning marriage. Some people, I know many guys have been discerning priesthood, particularly obviously towards the Jesuits, and learning how to do that effectively by using the rules. St. Ignatius of Loyola's rules of discernment is a big part of our time there.
And it's just for lads? Or?
So just lads live in the house, but there are non-resident there are non-resident members of the community who are women, and they play a big part in organizing activities, because that's the third pillar really. We organize different kind of activities and stuff. So today we're actually organizing a talk in the synod, and we have Monday evenings. My friend Jacob runs Bible study, and over in St. Francis Xavier Church we do my friend Cahill does imaginative contemplation in our house on Mondays. And we have lots of really good activities coming up later in the year.
That's really cool.
Really exciting for the year.
What kind of drew you to the sort of Ignatian spirituality?
So I think I was biased from the start to a certain extent, because I went to Belvedere College, which I think some of you might know. Yeah. So Jesuit school.
Yeah, great school.
So inundated with the Jesuits from the start. But I think what really kind of drew me initially is that after I think a childhood of kind of coming close, fluctuating closer and then further away from the faith. When I finished, I really got into my faith very much by meeting some wonderful people and reading some wonderful books in university. And then when I finished my master's in June 2022, when I was living over in London, I basically said, well, okay, what do I want to do with my life? So that, and I wanted to set out on a path to kind of radically reimagine what I could do and all different possibilities. So whatever I spent my life doing, I would know that it's really the life that God wanted me to have and lead, as opposed to what I've been doing before, which I'd had a blessed life up until then, but it was, I was somewhat following the curve and just the current and just going from place to place. And I think I've just been, and this is one of the, kind of our themes when we live in the house together, it's to live with intentionality. And then ever since I'd been discerning for that time, I've come to some conclusion that now, and it's just been still a lot of work to do and a lot of questions, but it's been the best year and a half of my life. I've just grown so much closer to the Lord. Deepened my prayer life so much, learned so much, met so many wonderful people, including some people Dion knows, which we were talking about before recording.
We were saying this before, but even when you were saying the Faber Community, like you know Owen Dunyan.
Yeah, see, again, he is one of the. So would you know like Jacob Shago and okay, just shout out to
all do the shout outs. Let all the shout outs come out now.
Okay, all the shout outs now. First of all, I want to say shout out to Father Niall Leahy, my spiritual director. Amazing man. Eamon Walls, Jesuit Scholastic, also amazing. To all my I'm under pressure now because I can't name everyone. But yeah, so all the Faber companions, James, Martin, Jacob, Owen, there's another Ciaran in the group, but that's okay. We were to get on.
Great.
And Cahill, and Sean.
Great.
So, yeah, I remember them
Two
all.
people with the same name in one location is always
It
recipe for contentious.
Gets very confusing. Does it happen often with Dion?
No, I've only ever met one
blessing.
Dion in my life, and it was a child at a birthday party.
Nice.
And he gave me a little spud.
Oh, I also want to shout out to Steph. Steph and Maria, who are the female Faber companions, and Steph, and they're both absolute heroes in Gardner Street and in the group. They do so much work, and they're awesome. So
great, brilliant. I was going to say as well. You said like you wanted to sort of go away from that current. Where like? Because obviously, I feel like it's natural, right? You go to school, you go to primary school. The next logical thing to do is you go to secondary school.
Yeah.
Secondary school is done. The next logical thing for most people is you go to college. College is done. All of a sudden, it's like you're kind of just thrown out there, and like you can do what you want. Like why? I suppose how do I formulate the question? Like how did you react to that sort of? Okay, everything is so. I'm following the current up until this point, and now all of a sudden it's like I can do what I want to do. Like what was your response to that? Were you kind of taken back by it? You were like, oh, actually I'm a bit confused, like, because I'm used to just following the current, but now it's like the ball's in my court. I get to choose what to do.
Well, actually, I think one of the things that really kind of struck me at the time is that it would have been very easy for me to keep going with that current because I didn't. I guess in one aspect I was very blessed in the sense that when I was spending my year in London, I actually did this year-long process to an organisation called IGs, which is basically a group of economists who work for the Irish government, because politics and economics was my background in university, and so I actually had a job lined up, and I knew from when I finished my dissertation in August 2022, I would be then going straight into a new job in September, which was a blessing in many ways, but it kind of occurred to me at the time that it would have been extremely easy to kind of just keep with that flow that we talked before, and you summed up quite well there. But yeah, it just I think one of the real, and there's many, I think, like moments that brought me closer to God in my life, but one of the big ones was definitely getting into C.S. Lewis. Like I'm sure this is actually a very common theme for a lot of young Catholic people. But yeah, I started reading Mere Christianity in, I think it would have been during COVID, in my third year of my undergrad, and I was just hooked ever since. And I was reading all of them, and there's something he said about Christianity is either the most important thing in the world, or even the questions of God and religion, the most important things in the world, or they just don't matter at all. They can't be only moderately important. And it kind of occurred to me that like that's how I'd been treating them for most of my life. Like I grew up in like a culturally Catholic household, but no, that's not quite true. My mother was a massive inspiration for me. She really passed on the faith, and love her to bits. But I think I didn't do as much with that as I could have. I was going to mass every Sunday, but I think I hadn't really developed a personal relationship with Jesus really, and then when I got into, particularly when I started getting quite involved in the Laurentian Society in Trinity again in third year, people were actually talking like they believed everything the church teaches, and I was like, what is, people do this? But then I gave it a go and just took a leap of faith and said, well, what happens if I actually apply this, and what happens if I actually like not do what I've always been a planner, so I kind of like was always planning my life on based what this is my project and what I want to do. But then I kind of asked myself, well, okay, but what if I actually do what all these people I admire like say, and like give my life to God and see what he wants to do with it. And I did, maybe a bit easy to say I did that. There was a lot of, here you go, God. No, maybe not. Yeah, here you go. So it was a process, but honestly it's been absolutely fantastic. Like the year of discernment has been so rich. I've since been going to I first met up with Father Niall Leahy in the Jesuit Connection for discernment, and then I got very involved in St. Francis Xavier's Mass over in Gardner Street. The youth mass is 7:30 every Sunday. Please come, it's amazing. I built such a wonderful community there. I didn't build it, it was but I took part, and it was a really nice thing for me when I came back to London, and then I come from London and a lot of my secondary school and college friends had moved on, because I think a lot of Irish people, and not just Catholic friends, find it hard to stay in Ireland these days. I guess, cost of living and housing and stuff. So
that's fair. Why do you think so many people are? Obviously, you said your reason for getting involved in this more sort of Ignatian spirituality. Why do you think most people like? What do you think the reason is for other people to get involved? Because it seems like there's a pretty growing community in sort of Gardiner Street and the other sort of Jesuit communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the big reasons for getting involved is that the Jesuits, particularly in recent years, have made a really concerted effort to reach out to young people. And they have, in Father Niall, someone who's very good at doing it and very motivated and passionate about it. And you see in Ireland, I think the organizations that do very well in that regard have invest in young people. Like I think the religious orders do this very well. I'm more familiar with the male religious orders because obviously I was looking through them. So I can say from first-hand experience that as well as the Jesuits, the Dominicans do absolutely fantastic work with young people, and you can see that, quite frankly, in the number of new recruits they have at a time vocations are dwindling. Jesuits the same. Franciscans also, I think, do a great job. Shout out to Father Liam. And yeah, I think that partially is because there's two things. Like there's maybe like two subsets of young people. There's like a small but very strong and motivated core of young Catholics in Ireland, and they look around and they see that the Irish Church is in a time of crisis, and they want to know, what can I do? They want young people. Don't want to like be wallowing in despair. They want to do something, and they want to kind of see what God's call for Ireland in the 21st century is, and they want to work hard to build that up. And I think the Jesuits in particular, it's all about kind of like figuring out what God wants you to do. So there's a real draw to that. And young people just want to know how they can help, and the Jesuits not only offer them a way they can help, but also discern, help give them the tools to discern what the best way for them to do that is. And I think that's massive. And then there's the other group of young people who would be much larger, who maybe, I think that it would be a spectrum maybe of people who would maybe be like, maybe lukewarm in the faith, drifted away from faith, but with some sympathy, and the people who are totally against. And I think why the Jesuits are successful as well is that they would kind of be very good at reaching out to those groups of people, because when we do a lot of different activities, we would do a lot of adoration and stuff, but one of our aims for the year is do things like worship nights. And I'm going to hopefully be running things with the Jesuit Faith and Justice Centre in the year to come. And the idea is to reach out to other young people who mightn't be religious, but would care about issues like homelessness or the environment, and be able to invite them in, say, well, okay, we don't agree on everything, but we can hopefully, let's think of new ways to solve these issues together. And that can be root evangelization, like bringing people in is half the battle. And
what's your response to that when you sort of are trying to approach those kind of, let's say, the youth that aren't sort of that firm in their faith and they're a bit lukewarm? What's being sort of their response and also your approach to it?
I think I think it's varied because those kind of, to go into just lukewarm, for example, I think that actually might describe like a bigger proportion of the population of young people than a lot of even Catholics, I think, would think. Because I think we still have this perception from the mid-2000s that like most young people are either the few number of Catholics within the church, or everyone's kind of a new atheist. And I think, and I'm not the first person to notice this at all, so this is somewhat of a borrowed opinion, but I think the new atheist wave somewhat peaked in the mid-2000s, and now young people are kind of just at a stage where they definitely don't believe in that. They're definitely not all coming back to mass every Sunday, but they know there's kind of something more. They know the very hardcore atheism, for the most part, kind of overplayed its hand, and they saw kind of how, I suppose, intolerant that came in some circles, not universally, of course, but and I think they kind of see all these issues, and they know there's something more, and they know and they hunger for more. Like there's a deep, genuine hunger. And they just want to explore it. And I think this is something, because I've been surprised. It's just my personal experience. A number of friends, like particularly when I was discerning, like when I was honest with my friends and said, I'm going to mass, because I used to kind of like skirt around or even like avoid the question when my friends asked, oh, where are you going I was going to mass? But I said, no, I'm going to mass. And then we start talking about religion, and I was, 9 times out of 10, I was always surprised about how people were kind of like, oh yeah, like I wish I still had that, or oh, that's interesting, please tell me more. And we would just have these amazing conversations. Like I remember bumping into my brother when we were on the bus on the way home, and he would not be religious at all, but he kind of said, "Oh, where were you when I've been visiting the Dominicans in Dominic Street?" And he said, and I said, "Oh, I've been to Dominicans." And we just started, and I was kind of worried because I'm like, "Oh yeah, here we go again," because our views of religion would be very different.
Crazy.
But we had this amazing conversation, and he finished it by saying that, like, obviously I have my problems with the church, but I would rather there would be good priests like you in the world than none at all.
Wow.
And that was such a beautiful thing to hear him say.
Yeah.
And I think it's true, because because I think young people are in like a better place to receive Jesus' message than they have been in the last little while, simply because we now live in a stage where people don't like condemning any ideas at all. Like, it's all kind of, oh, this is your idea, and I respect that no matter what. And there's downsides to that, but
yeah,
I think at least now there's an openness there isn't before. And then once we have that foundation, we can invite people in and show that we will love you no matter what, and we're interested in you, not just in converting you, but we want to get to know you. We want to be your friend, and just bring people in and get to know them, get to do our activities, and like, they aren't our projects to convert, but like we get to know them, and who knows where the Holy Spirit can work from there.
Yeah, and there's so many ministries, I think, just they acknowledge that openness from young people, and they see it as an opportunity, and there's like you won't be able to count them on two hands. Like, there's so many ministries out there. One of which is the Dublin Bay. Is it the Dublin Bay North?
Dublin Bay North, yeah.
Dublin Bay North Youth Group.
Oh, they sound cool.
They sound cool.
Yeah.
But that's a new sort of initiative that you guys have started up, right?
Yeah. So the reason that I'm on air today is that we have. So one of the things we noticed, actually, we're talking about ministry for young people, and so I, just to give a bit of background, I grew up in Clontarf, and there are 3 parishes in Clontarf, and one in Killester and two in Northwall, in the surrounding areas. And I have some friends who I know from outside of the area, who are from the area, but I've met in different contexts. Cool. And we, actually no, sorry. So is when we were talking about the openness to young people, and people come, and young people in mass. Like, when I was in mass over the summer, the mass I usually would go to in Gardner Street was just like, it was not closed for the summer, but it wasn't running over the summer, because Jesuits typically go off and do experiments. So I went back to my home parish, and I noticed there was young people at my home mass in St. Gabriel's in Dollymount when I went to my mum. There weren't many, but there was young people, a consistent number, who were coming, and they weren't with their parents. So this clearly wasn't a case that, like, oh, I don't go with my parents. I go with my parents like whenever I'm home from college, because I don't want to cause a fight in the family. Like, these were particularly like 4 people. I think they looked about late teenagers or so. 3 guys and a girl, and they would always come to mass at 6:00 on the Sunday evening. And clearly they had some motivation, and some were even like clearly trained as ministers of the Eucharist and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, clearly there's some desire there. There's some kind of small stuff. But like, there just wasn't anything apart from mass in the Clontarf area. And mass is, reiterate, peak of Christian worship, so important. But from my experience, and we were actually, Dion and I were talking a little about this beforehand, like, I think community and having those communities is just absolutely vital when you're trying to live the Christian life. Like, being a Christian is just one thing you absolutely cannot do alone. That's why the Lord gave us, he didn't send out like all of us to be like, okay, now you do this and you do this and all work as individuals. He gave us a church and put himself as the head of that church. So that is, so I actually got together with some friends of mine. So their names are Sabrina Teo, Serena O'Connor, and Jack. I'm going to forget his last name. That's so bad. Okay. And then we've since been joined by Andrea Hernandez over since we got up and you were in the youth group. But basically, we all kind of got together and just we just set up a youth group, and we got onto the priests. And again, shout out to Father John O'Brien, Father Larry White, Father Pat McManus, and Father Brendan, and just everyone, Father Joseph as well from Clester, and just everyone has been so supportive and so brilliant. And so what we do then is we just want to provide that kind of like community for people in Clontarf, because many of these guys, many of the people, young people who come to ARF, the Catholics there, will also have the university societies, and that's great. I think they should get involved in those, like Laurentians, Newmans. If there's anything in your university, get involved in that.
Yeah.
But I think two groups we kind of found ourselves who we got a great response from in our group, because the first 2 weeks we've been running it now, like we've had like consistently 8 to 10 people coming to our.
Well, I didn't realize it was that new. It's only 2 weeks.
Yeah,
old.
no, this is it. Like our first event took place on the 27th of September.
Oh,
like
wow.
this is like totally from scratch, came from nowhere.
Cool.
And yeah, two groups we've really gotten some demand from is people who have left university, and had this great kind of like support there with all their university societies, and then they kind of say, okay, what now? Because like there's a lot there for, I think maybe not as much as there could be, but like there is stuff for like teenagers and college students, and you can hear a lot from these circles. But then when you go off and just live in these random places, not everyone has. It's kind of easy to lose your like group of other young people, and your community kind of becomes the mostly middle-aged older people in your parish, and those relationships are important too, absolutely. But I think as well as having a Christian community, it's very beneficial to have other Catholic young people, partially because you're at the same stage of your life. I think particularly the stage of your life when you're maybe my age, 24, and a little bit older and younger, so that 18 to 35 era where you're kind of discerning your vocation. Because one thing I strongly have believed after spending time with the Jesuits is that everyone has a vocation. That might be marriage, that might be single life, that might be religious life, priesthood. But it's a time where naturally at that age, all young people kind of wonder, well, okay, I've done that. What is my life now? And to not have that must be really tough. And I've just been so blessed by having those relationships in my life that I thought I really wanted other people to be able to have what I had, and I just felt called to it. And this is the thing, like I honestly think this is kind of what God wanted too, because Serena, I was having a chat with Serena about this, and she was saying to me, like I've just been kind of getting consolation after consolation for this, and I feel so good about this. Like the fact that we've been getting such positive feedback from the priests and from people,
what's the size of the group at the moment in terms of numbers?
So we haven't built up much of a permanent base yet because we've only held about 4 sessions or so. But there's 5 people running it. We would consistently get about maybe on a quiet night there might be about 5 people coming to the group. At a big night there would be I think 10 was our biggest. And then,
what are those sort of events like? Are they just youth groups that you would run by yourselves?
So our main event is always Alpha on a Thursday, and then we're looking to change it up because I think many people just have such a positive Alpha experience, and it's a great place to start. And we do that every Thursday evening where we'd make some food, we share that with people. Most people we just don't know, and then we get together, we chat, which is kind of nice actually because you get to meet people just from the area, which is something people always say they'd love to do more regardless of the context. Then we watch the video together. And then we discuss like the themes in the video, like who is Jesus to you? Have you ever had to forgive someone? What is forgiveness? And we've just had the most amazing conversations there.
Could you give a brief description of what Alpha is for the listeners who don't know what Alpha is?
So Alpha is a program designed in the 1990s by an English gentleman called Nicky Gumbel, who is Church of England, I believe, but it's been approved by all the Catholic bishops, not just in Ireland, but abroad. And it's a really, really effective tool at both evangelization, but also kind of like sparking interest in forming community and strengthening faith among groups of Christians in an area who don't know each other. And the beauty of Alpha is that basically they have 12 pre-recorded videos that you show, and they give you a list of questions and talking points with the group. So basically all you need is preferably maybe 4 or 5 people to be able to run it. You need you need a location, you need food, and they might need like a little bit of training, but even the training comes from videos, and then that's it. Like you don't need any specialized training really. You don't need any big equipment. You don't need to have years of experience in evangelization. You just need to be yourself, and that's what we've been able to bring. Like us 4 or 5 young people, and we will bring that in, and the results have been pretty amazing so far.
That's amazing. And what's the next? You were saying you're trying to move away from Alpha, so what are the next steps for the youth group? So
the plan is to run Alpha between now and Christmas holidays, and then. As well, we would also one of the advantages of being part of the Faber Companions and having so much stuff there is I can point people towards other activities that are happening around Dublin. Cool, so typically We have Bible study and Mansion of Contemplation on Mondays that we can do. We've done this rather cool thing actually, because a second group that have really benefited from the group or have gotten a lot from it is recent immigrants to Dublin, and what they and a cool thing that we have enjoyed doing is that we would go to different churches around Dublin City and do their holy hours there. We were in Dominic Street, not yesterday, but the Friday before.
Yeah.
And you had some people who hadn't been to a holy hour in Dublin yet, just doing there. And Dominic Street, I don't know if you've ever been. It's absolutely
it's gorgeous.
The Dominican Brothers there is just such a blessed evening.
That's the one at 9 on a Friday. It is amazing. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And the best thing about it is you just have people coming in from after work as well. So you'd have like, you know, people with their different work uniforms. You have like nurses there. You'll have like people who are like bus drivers just coming after a shift, and they're just all sitting around. The Dominicans there lined up. It's beautiful. Yeah,
it's so beautiful that it's one of the things that, like, if I have a friend who's kind of like, oh, I'm kind of interested in getting to know like Christianity a bit more, but I don't know where to start, I'll take them there, because it's just such a moment of beauty, and the adoration, like the possibility for encounter with Christ is just so present, and it's amazing. So those are the kind of 3 activities we've done so far, and then the plan is to maybe we had a meeting there a week or two ago to kind of discuss what our activities might be going forward. We'd like to do something a little bit more Catholic focused, because Alpha is quite ecumenical, and while I think that's really positive, I think it'd be nice to do something maybe a little more Catholic focused, because a lot of our people, like I think everyone who attends the group so far have been practicing Catholics too, generally, so, or to a lesser and greater degree. So I think people might enjoy like a little bit of catechesis. One idea that was floating around was, I don't know if your listeners are familiar with Father Mike Schmidt's Catechism in the Year, Bible in the Year. So we're thinking we might do that. Bible study is another possibility. And different social trips. And I think I think volunteering is something we've got a lot of feedback. People respond very positively to. Yeah. So that'd be a big one, definitely.
That's so cool. And I think just the sort of bonding of the group would come in with each and every one of those activities. I don't think you necessarily have to go out of the way to do like whatever team bonding or whatever when you're doing a Bible study, when you're doing a.
You see, this is it. Yeah.
It includes that, like it's a means of obviously getting scripture to the people who attend the youth group, but also you're spending time with those people, you're getting to know them more. So that's brilliant. And if someone wanted to get involved in the youth group, how would they go about that?
So I think the first thing to do would be our Instagram page is at DBN North. Actually, I should.
We can put it in the
because I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, we're on Instagram. And then if you want to, a lot of our stuff also happens on WhatsApp. So if you want to, so once you're in that, you can ask to be added to our WhatsApp group once you've attended a session, and that's kind of where we circulate our kind of like timetable for the week. And and then obviously, then we pretty consistently have activities in St. Anthony's Hall at 7:30 every Thursday evening. So anyone is very welcome. Please come along there, particularly if you're from the Clontarf, Killester, North Wall, or any of the surrounding areas. Please do come along, and just talk to us, and we'd love to meet you.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll put those details in the description. So if you're watching on YouTube, so which you are watching on YouTube, just go to the description and you'll be able to access the page through there. But Thomas is just giving me the sign that we're running out of time. But thank you so much for coming on, Ciaran. That was amazing. Great to hear your story. Great to hear that there are so many initiatives like the Dublin Bay North youth group out there for young people. So again, if you would like to get in contact with Ciaran or with the Dublin Bay youth group, North youth group, you can click the link in the description. That will bring you straight there. Until then, until next Saturday, 2 p.m, hopefully we'll have Ciaran back for that. Take care and God bless.